सही इस्तेमाल पूरी मानवता के लिए कितना क्रांतिकारी है, इसका उदाहरण भारत ने डिजिटल इंडिया अभियान के तौर पर पूरे विश्व के सामने रखा है।
Currently, Bharat is the world's third largest and fastest growing hub for technology startups, with Gujarat as the best performer in the State Startup Ranking 2022, making it a preferred investment destination amongst global ICT
Good morning, distinguished guests, respected dignitaries, esteemed speakers, members of academia, industry leaders, and everyone joining us today. It is my privilege to welcome you all to the vibrant Gujarat Regional Conference, Kutch Saurashtra chapter, here at the prestigious Marwadi University, Rajkot. We are honored to host today's focused and forward looking seminar on Green AI Data Center powering sustainable digital growth here at Marwadi University. This seminar is designed to bring together policymakers, industry pioneers, academia, and technology leaders to discuss sustainable digital growth and Gujarat's emerging leadership in the green data center ecosystem. I would like to invite Director Madam Srimati Kavita Shah, IAS, Director, Directorate of ICT and E-Governance, to deliver a welcome speech for commencing today's event and bringing energy to it. It is her leadership that will serve as the guiding light to the assemblage today. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome all of you for this Green AI Data Center कार्यक्रम. अब सबको देखकर मुझे एक लग रहा है कि गुजरात अब 100% AI डेटा सेंटर के बारे में आगे बढ़ सकता है. Gujarat is one of the leading state. Gujarat is a policy driven state and we have also data center policy. So ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं लेते हुए आप सबको फिर से वेलकम करते हुए कार्यक्रम शुरू करेंगे. थैंक यू.
Thank you, ma'am, for setting a remarkable foundation. Moving ahead, we are fortunate to have prominent keynote speakers whose expertise and leadership continue to shape the future of digital infrastructure. Let us now first invite the keynote speaker of the day, Mr. Jigar Halani, Director, NVIDIA, who will shed light on how green data centers are becoming essential for next generation digital ecosystems and AI-driven innovation. The theme is Green Data Centers as Catalysts for Sustainable Digital Growth, delivered by Sri Jigar Halani, Director, NVIDIA.
Morning all. Not bad, the energy is good. Okay, let's see if this works. There we go.
This is how intelligence is made. A new kind of factory. Generator of tokens. The building blocks of AI. Tokens have opened a new frontier, the first step into an extraordinary world, where endless possibilities are born. Tokens transform words into knowledge and breathe life into images. They turn ideas into videos and help us safely navigate any environment. Tokens teach robots to move like the masters. Inspire new ways to celebrate our victories.
A martini, please.
Only light up.
Thank you, Adam.
And give us peace of mind when we need it most.
Hi, Roka. Hi, Anna. It's good to see you again.
Hi, Emma. We're going to take your blood sample today, okay?
Don't worry. I'm gonna be here the whole time.
They bring meaning to numbers to help us better understand the world around us. Predict the dangers that surround us. And find cures for the threats within us. Tokens can bring our visions to life. And restore what we've lost.
Zachary, I got my voice back, buddy.
They help us move forward. One small step at a time. And one giant leap. Together. And here is where it all begins.
Okay, good. Sounds good. So I'll try my best to convert this electrons to token journey in about 10 minutes is what I've been given. So I'll make sure that I use this time to have my best tokens out in terms of my intelligence with some statistics that could help you have some more understanding, right? So some economic growth happened, and the numbers are absolutely visible to you. The report is written right below. If you want to refer it out, it's by McKinsey on what they're trying to do. India predicts to add $1 trillion economy in 2 years' time with the pace at which we are adopting the AI as we speak. Okay, and I'll give some examples. So these are not big numbers. We have seen in just last 1 year what market cap some of the top 3 companies only, and I'm not even talking about 20 or 40 or 50 companies in the US, have added over about $1.5 trillion in their economic growth for the country, right? And of course, because of which the dominance that they're trying to portray in the globe, with the supply chain control that they're able to portray today because of the muscle power that they've gained just in a year's time. And that of course includes my company as well, because we are the highest number of trillions in just 1 year, right? And of course the benefits around that, which anyway we'll talk about that as well. Is India behind? The answer is definitely no. I don't think so. I need to prove any of the top data, but the bottom data is also important, right? So I think we are 1 billion plus now connected users on our mobile. We have identity for over 1.4 billion. We have roughly 99%. Digital payments are like 50% of the global numbers that we talk about it. We are talking about 8 gigawatt of data center capacity by 2030. This number I've changed it just yesterday, okay? It was written as 5, because that number was written about 3 months back when we were presenting it to our CEO. And in just 3 months, we have made that number grown up because every state is now making sure, ensuring that they have good data center policy coming out. And the world knows that India has both the things. India has power that the world is suffering to, and India has its own data generation that is also taking place. We generate 20% of global data, right? So that means the data should be processed in the country where it is being generated. Thereby, it can be done in the most efficient way, right? Thereby, the number is 8. My prediction at a personal level, don't hold me on this, is by 2030, we will be 16 gigawatt. Okay, that's my prediction, and I have some theory why I say this as well, on what if we have to make that entire 20% of data to be processed in the country, 100%, assuming we will come back with that policy very soon, in next 5 years. If the answer is yes, it has to grow at 16 gigawatt. That's the theory which I have, right? GitHub claims we have 21 million developers, while I'm not considering the top developers that the globe is worried about it, right? And that number is far more superiorly important than this 21 billion, because that number drives more AI consumption as well, right? Healthcare, agriculture, I'm not talking about it. But the bottom data is very important. We are number 1 for ChatGPT in terms of number of users. We are number 1 for Perplexity. We are number 2 for Gemini, and this number should become number 1 because now 18 months we have this tool free for us. Right? Half of India has this tool absolutely free for us, right? So within like couple of days, I will not even say months, this should be number one in terms of traffic that we're talking about. So for everybody, we are number one. Reminding you, this is free users. We are also number one or number two for the paid user as well. So we are addressing AI very well, to be very honest. Okay? Let's understand what this one prompt translates to, what amount of computing at the back end, and why do we need these gigantic data centers to process this to simplify your data, to simplify your prompt that you're putting. Okay? So one simple video, and that should simplify what I'm talking about.
AI agents are digital assistants. Based on a prompt, they reason through and break down problems into multi-step plans. They use the proper tools, work with other agents, and use context from memory to properly execute the job on NVIDIA accelerated systems. It starts with a simple prompt. Let's ask Perplexity to help start a food truck in Paris. First, the Perplexity agent reasons through the prompt and forms a plan. Then, calls other agents to help tackle each step using many tools. The market researcher reads reviews and reports to uncover trends and analyze the competitive market. Based on this research, a concept designer explores local ingredients and proposes a menu complete with prep time estimates, and researches palettes and generates a brand identity. Then, the financial planner uses Monte Carlo simulations to forecast profitability and growth trajectory. An operations planner builds a launch timeline with every detail, from buying equipment to acquiring the right permits. The marketing specialist builds a launch plan with a social media campaign and even codes an interactive website, including a map, menu, and online ordering. Each agent's work comes together in a final package proposal, and it all started from a single prompt.
Question is the huge math in the back end for the data center. I know my 5 friends in the last just 6-8 months have started business without any idea, asking ChatGPT what business they should start in the city that they're staying. Okay, and trust me, few of them are successful because they have all the data that they're looking for it. One of them is in Ahmedabad, and I'm very proud about that. Right, so technology helps this way. Now, what does this prove? It proves that the modern data collection that we are trying to do is exploding, and thereby the data center demand is growing. So what number used to be less than a percentage about just 2 years back for the overall electricity consumption in data center is today 2% of the globe electricity generated as a consumption. And we are talking about 5% by 2030. And this data is a year-long old data as a data point I'm talking about. The new data that McKinsey is talking about it, or even Deloitte is talking about it, is going to grow 7 to 7.5%. And also reminding you that the world is moving and transitioning at a scale on green energy that we have never generated before with coal or thermal, right? So while we generate so much, we are also trying to say that we will consume 7% of solar just in data center business. Okay, that's because all of us will do all the tasks that we do today using just handheld devices that we have, and every task will be computed. Okay, that's because that's what it is going to do. And of course, CPUs can't do this because the data that we are trying to generate on a daily basis is exploding heavily. You could see from 21 to 25 how the curve has just gone steep hockey up, and this is expected to go up till next many decades now because data is generating on the fly. It's no more retrieval based stuff that is taking place, that something was stored and I'm trying to retrieve it. It's now all getting generated fresh because everybody's putting a prompt in a different way. Okay, that's a simple task. What does it translate to when it comes to data center? And I come to my end of my presentation, just 2 slides here, right? So what you have seen about a couple of years back, 10 kilowatt per rack. This is, I'm sure every data center you visit, that must be the case. To today, we are talking about having something around 45 kilowatt kind of a rack. As we speak, all the data centers that are getting announced in the country and globally as well is talking about having 150 kilowatt per rack. Right? So what I used to consume a room is now one corner. right? And that is 150 kilowatt. So I'm talking about a megawatt just within this space, and maybe I'll still give away some more space for sitting within this just small room that we are talking about it, a megawatt consumption. To what we announced just last week is going to grow to 400 kilowatt per rack. Okay, and each of these rack is capable to handle entire globe's internet data in a single second. Okay, so the infrastructure that you have built over the last 2 decades versus you're building it today with just one rack is that much capable of processing the entire internet data that we added in our retrieval databases. What was being stored. But today we are generating on a daily basis, and thereby hard drive and memory prices are shooting up heavy. Okay, that's the world is suffering. And we have to build this data center in a green way. The only way to do it is to have accelerated computing and a slide from NVIDIA, what we have today, and a supersonic software stack, which is very, very crucial. Okay, you just not need to understand the accelerated word, which is the GPU. You also need to fine-tune now CPU, the computing and networking infrastructure, the switches that you have in the infrastructure, to the entire layer of how the manageability of these data centers is going to work, and they interoperate with all the SDKs and libraries that you use in the AI world, right? So when we build the policy, it's not about just a data center that we build today. It's not about just the power, land, and shell. We are also talking about what goes inside, how optimized it's being used, and how optimally we are able to deliver it to our customer system. Okay, a simple thing if I have to tell you, what is happening today is India typically serves Indian market, unlike the globe, because our volume itself is so big. Okay, our market is awake from morning 8 to night 10. Then we sleep. What do we do with data center at the night? Right? How do I optimize data center during night time, where I have so much of megawatt capacity which is being installed? And that's where schedulers, software stack, and all these things come into play. Okay, so it's about the full-fledged journey that you need to have it. The skill needs to build from not just from PowerShell and data center build, plumbing and electricity and how we call it as NEP, or towards the end, towards the software component system. With that, let me pause. If there's any question. Any question? I'm here till first half. You feel free to contact me.
Thank you, sir, for your far-sighted vision on the agenda in concern. Sir, I request your presence on stage for a while, as I would like to invite Mr. Wasim Mansoori, Deputy Director, IT, to felicitate Shri Jigar Halani, Director, NVIDIA. Proceeding further, our panel today comprises some of the most experienced minds in the industry and the academia, and their perspectives will help us illuminate the path towards sustainable digital infrastructure. So now we shall move towards our first panel discussion on the important topic, climate resilient and energy efficient green data centers. Our distinguished panelists are from the industry, Mr. Mayur Gautam, Senior Vice President, Control S Data Centers, Mr. Rahul Puri, CTO, Nokia, Mr. Vivek Kharpure, Vice President and Head, IS, ESDS, Software Solution Limited. From the academia, we have Dr. Manish Gupta, Director, Academics, Kaushalya, the Skill University, and I would like to invite our moderator, Ms. Priyanka Sharma, Partner, KPMG. This session will dive into how data centers can achieve sustainability while supporting massive growth in digital demand.
I hope I'm audible. Okay, good morning, everyone, and I welcome you all to first panel discussion of the day, which is on green data centers, building resilient, efficient, sustainable data centers. So when I arrived 10 minutes back, and I was able to actually, look at a couple of, last slides that, our colleague from NVIDIA presented. And I was able to catch a few words from that presentation. So first word that got my attention was crisis. Crisis caused by the, accelerated computing needs. A single rack having the potential capacity to cater to the entire world. And that actually, made me think that, this panel discussion is very relevant, segue into, the discussions that we'll have during the day, because we are here talking about green data center, and, we are talking about data centers having accelerated computing, racks having the capacity to serve the entire world, and therefore the amount of pressure on the infrastructure, power, cooling, etc., and the basically the design challenges that we have for such data centers. And therefore, I think our first panel is highly relevant. So without further ado, let me dive into the panel discussion. And I welcome my panelists again. They have been introduced. We have Professor Manish Gupta from Kaushalya Skills University. We have Rahul Puri, CTO Nokia, Mayur Gautam, Senior Vice President of Control S Data Centers, and Vivek Kharpure, VP ESDS. Now, just to set the context, we know that our country itself has also, pledged net zero emissions by 2070. Every country has its own goalpost, but ours is 2070. I think a tall and ambitious goal, but the need of the hour. And here, when we talk about technology, it has a crucial role, in my view, towards helping us achieve that goal. And therefore, the development of net zero / green data centers is also key towards achieving that goal. So, these centers are also going to help serve as the backbone of the digital growth. Of course, the next wave of digital growth is being led by AI, and that also we are going to cover in our panel discussion. So, given the time allocated, let me just start, Professor Gupta, by asking you the first question. Now, since we're talking about green data centers, NVIDIA has already set the context, but just could you recap, what do we mean here when we talk about green data centers? And, do you think, in your view, that, they will support the next wave of digital growth as we are referring to, and how?
Okay, thank you. Am I audible? So first of all, I would like to say that I will start with a quote from Eric Schmidt, former chairman of Google, which he gave in 2010, that from the dawn of human civilization till 2010, humans generated around 5 exabyte of data, which is in the order of 10 to 18. And then from then onwards, every day we are generating a couple of exabytes. And I mean, you may estimate the size of Google, for example, YouTube, it is also about 10 exabyte, It's very, so a lot of data is generated, over the last 10 to 15 years. And then on the top of it, we are also doing processing on it, right? For example, AI, after the discovery of AI, a lot more energy is required in all these data centers, right? When we do processing. I think many of you might be watching OTT platforms these days, right? Which are either Netflix or YouTube. So whenever we are streaming, then also it consumes a lot of energy. Okay, so that's why I think people advise that you download it and then watch. That will consume less energy rather than streaming. So all these, activities that we are doing daily, it actually, gives a lot of pressure on the data centers to keep them cool, because the more heat is generated when we use a lot of applications. On the top of it, we also, we are some of other things that are coming up, as like for the AI, and as well as a lot more computation. Another direction that is coming up is homomorphic encryption. So you basically encrypt data in the cloud and then do the AI analysis on the top of it, which will consume more energy. So there is a huge demand of how we can reduce the energy in these data centers, right? So we need to keep them cool, resilient data centers. So green data centers which consumes less energy. That is a target thing. Now, scientists are also working on low power linear algebra or low power algorithms which can reduce the computation energy, right? So that is another area that people are working on. And I think I was lucky enough to work on another direction, which is DNA data storage, where actually green data storage, because it consumes less energy, right? And 1 gram of DNA can store around 455 exabytes of data. So the entire internet is around size 700 to 800 exabyte, which can you can store in 2 to 3 exabytes. So right now, Library of Congress in US, they started for all their library to convert into the DNA data storage, which will consume less energy. So now data you can divide into two parts: hot data, cold data. And I think a lot more cold data is there, but hot data is very less. So if probably on the hot data, we can say how we can reduce the energy consumption in those hot data, right? So a lot of areas are there to work for engineers and scientists, and India is certainly a great initiative that has been taken by India, and especially Gujarat government also in this direction. So I think there's a lot of scope for for us to do things in green data centers.
Sure. Thank you for sharing your views. So you spoke about data generation and therefore the need to keep the data centers cool in a more sustainable way. So my next question is to Rahul. So, given that they will require, creatively designed power and liquid cooling infrastructure. So what does it mean to design this infrastructure for a green data center? What do you think are those technologies available today?
Thank you for the question. Mr. Jigar was talking about the power utilization, around 2 to 3%. So I did a research by a 650 group. It was saying in US currently they are consuming 2 to 3% for non-AI constantly from last 4-5 years. Going forward in next 4-5 years, this percentage will go around 15%. So maybe it is different than what you projected, but that is an independent report. So combination of AI and non-AI will be around 15% of the power being generated in US specifically. You said globally. It's a big number. So what we are saying, the air cooling is hitting the roof. Air cooling will not able to manage these kind of power requirements. Because like you said, 10 kilowatt per rack to 150 kilowatt going forward to 200, and you said 400 is the new number, which is surprising for me. So yeah, so those kind of power requirements, air cooling cannot handle. So we need a big shift. So that is liquid cooling. We are looking and we have done some tests. So this liquid cooling can reduce the power utilization by around 30 to 50%. Now the PUE, which is the biggest parameter where we worry about in data centers, will reduce by around 0.2 to 0.4%. So it's a big number. Now what kind of technologies, like you asked, or the new different techniques where we can enhance this? So one is direct to chip cooling, where 70 to 80% heat can be absorbed by liquid cooling, because liquid is thermal conductivity of liquid is much higher than air. That is one aspect. Second is so this is more for green data centers, where you can have the liquid cooling infrastructure. For brownfield data centers, there's a concept known as RDHX, which is rear door heat exchanger, where the air cooling is there. You have cold aisle and the hot aisle separated, but you also have doors behind the cabinet which are liquid cooled. So these are more suitable for brownfield data centers, where liquid coolings are not adapted as a technology in the data center. Third is immersion cooling, which is a very new concept. It needs a lot of deliberation, because it has some vendor locking. The serviceability of the data center equipments will be a challenge. So immersion cooling is something which is very effective, but still needs some kind of enhancement. So if we can do all those things, it can impact sustainability, because sustainability is the end goal for us. So with less power for cooling, which is around 30 to 50%, we can use the same power for compute and enhance the PUE. Second, the scope 2 carbon emission, which will definitely reduce because of this. And third, we don't do this going forward, the AI requirement keep on increasing. So to able to cope up those kind of future requirements, you will need to get into these kind of new techniques in thermal advancement, so that we can have more compute power, having everything in one cabinet. If we can do that, then we can have more compute in one rack. We can have less small data centers, and that is very much relevant to be staying competitive across the globe or within the different organizations. So I think going forward, this will definitely help us to stay competitive.
Thanks, Rahul. So my next question is to Mayur. Mayur, so, coming from Control S, having extensive experience over the years in building data centers, how do you balance the, this trade-off between sustainability and performance of the data center? Because traditionally, I think, in my understanding, data centers have always had hot aisle, cold aisle, and the cooling infrastructure. But now we're talking about sustainability, and sustainability comes with a price tag. So, as data center designers, planners, implementers, what's your view on sustainability as a trade-off over performance and reliability of the data center?
Hi. Thanks for asking this question. This is a very extensive question actually, and we can cover this topic over a half-day session as well. But I would like to summarize in a couple of points. I will also use one quote: "A data center is a factory, and sustainability will be the product in near future." All our data center are greenfield only, so we have idea about how the data center operate. To maintain the sustainability, it start with the design phase only, initial phase. To achieve net neutrality by 2030, we have done lots of things, lots of changes in our data centers. If I talk about design, it is also the component which we are using within our data center, like UPS. Also, cooling component should be modular, which we are using. Our data center are not relying on PPP type of model. We are getting solar power from our own solar farm, which is in Vardha. 100 megawatt is ready right now, and the way we are getting that power and utilizing it in our data center. We are not using fresh water in our data center to maintain WE. That is also important factor for any data center, because we have to be net neutral for water as well. Whatever we are using, it should be recycled. So there is a treated water plant near to our data center. We are getting that power source to our data center. We are using that water to cool our data center. This is how we are giving back to Mother Earth, which we are using right now. Unfortunately, India is not like European country where we can use this this hot air, which we are releasing right now directly to the air. But in Netherlands, they are utilizing this hot air and sourcing it to nearby hotels or community. That is also one more component which we can use, but right now it is challenging. But we are trying to do condensing that hot air by not releasing directly to the air. So these are a couple of things which we are using. There are lots of things which we can cover, and this is what we are doing.
Thank you. So finally, for the first segment of the panel discussion, Vivek, I wanted to, particularly because this is an event organized by Government of Gujarat, I think, given my own experience in interactions with clients in government, when we get into technology implementation or technology design engagements, there's a discussion on cloud. So, of course, now there is adoption of cloud in government. But do you think, cloud as a faster, scalable type of deployment could be a game changer when we, talk about green data centers? And, how do you think we can accelerate the adoption there?
Yeah, hi. Hi, good morning, everyone. Yes, when we are talking about AI, green data center, all the workloads that we are talking about, whatever, whether it is university or schools or any organization, all these workloads are already on cloud or will be going on cloud. And the amount of processing that is happening in data centers, that is humongous. The amount of data that is getting generated at organization level and at personal level, individual level on handheld devices, it's huge. And I think cloud is already playing a vital role in it. And I think when we are saying sustainable technologies, sustainable data centers, sustainable initiatives, so cloud will also be an integral part of it. Because for this, what is required at the back end is this infrastructure, data center infrastructure, which uses renewable energy, power from wind, solar, and of course, as Gautam mentioned, using liquid cooling. Rahul also mentioned about advanced high-tech cooling technologies wherein fresh water is not used. So all these technologies are already there, which powers cloud infrastructure. So I think, yes, cloud is definitely an integral part of green initiatives. And when we are talking about AI, of course, today GPUs are used in, specifically the high-end boxes, H200 Blackwells. Those are not virtualized yet, as we do in Intel or other CPUs. But then going ahead, definitely there will be virtualization on GPUs as well, which will then intensify the usage of the cloud infrastructure, because application will then leverage these GPUs to do a high performance, give better results, and come up with new initiatives.
Okay, sure. So what I hear from all of you is that, there are technologies available today, towards designing a more efficient and sustainable physical infrastructure in terms of, thermal technology advancements, liquid cooling, etc. And, I think cloud also has a role to play in it. But what I also hear from all of you is that, this is all being driven by compute requirements. So compute is driving these, this creativity or innovation in the design of physical infrastructure at the back end. So when we talk about compute and, we talk about the next digital wave, we can't leave, of course, artificial intelligence, AI behind, because every conversation today that we have, either in core technology projects or anywhere, even at our homes, is, not without AI. And we know that, AI is compute intensive, and they're big guzzlers of, energy. Training the LLMs continuously over the years during the night requires huge compute, and therefore heat dissipation, cooling requirements, optimizing, the network design, etc., is also critical in designing these sustainable data centers. So coming to that, Rahul, earlier when we met, we were talking about how network design, and I think I was very curious to understand this also. Network design itself can, sort of optimize the massive load that artificial intelligence and puts on the compute infrastructure. So how do you what technologies or what kind of design methods are available today?
So very interesting question, Priyanka. See, I'll just give some stats. In India, currently, we have 1.5 gigawatt of data centers, which going forward will be around 8 gigawatt, like what Jigar said, which is very a new number. Also, interestingly, India generate around 14% of data, if I compare the total data. But our data center capacity is around 2%. with current geopolitics situation and sovereign cloud concept coming very active, so that gap of 14% data we generate versus 2% data centers of data we have in India, we have huge growth trajectory. Third aspect is the new use cases, low latency use cases in manufacturing, in healthcare, in gaming. So those kind of new use cases will have a different data center architecture. We'll have more small data centers in small cities versus big data centers in only Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore, or Delhi. So that is the new concept. Now, how to address the question what you asked? So, of course, we need chipsets which are, using less power. Then power supplies in all those devices, be it networks, be it servers, it has to have good conversion rate from AC to DC. Then you should use systems in data centers which are modular. When I say modular, you always have that capability to enhance the capacity as and when it is required. That is first aspect. Second is energy efficiency per bit. Now, if you have a capacity requirement of 400 gig, rather than having 100 gig interfaces, multiple interfaces, you can have one 400 gig interface or 800 gig interface, because the power utilization of a higher chipset or silicon is better per bit. Second, there are new concepts in technology, which is EEE, which is energy efficient Ethernet, where when the capacity of interface is not fully utilized, it reduces the power requirement. Then, very important aspect is the network design. Now, if you see data center architecture, you have leaf to spine connectivity, spine to spine connectivity. So if you reduce the budgeting of any kind of network design, that means you are not, allowing the server to wait for any kind of process. That means server will finish the process as soon as there is a process for the server. So the wait time for server is less. So it will finish the task and come back to the normal power level as soon as finish the task. So you have to design the network so it is not over designed for any kind of capacity. Second is the load balancing. Sometimes you design the networks where one link is very active and second is passive. So you have to make sure the links are totally, parallelly utilized, so that one link is not using extra power and one link is totally underutilized. Then there are some software optimization algorithms, where there are concepts known as LRO and LSO, where some of the processes of networks are being offloaded from GPUs to network devices. This definitely reduces the power. So LRO, LSOs are some of the technical terms which definitely reduce the GPU power. Then whatever you do, of course, there will be some kind of monitoring required. So you have to monitor your networks regularly for the power being designed. It is being used the same way or it is being used on a higher level. Then, of course, cooling we have already discussed. Then there are some infra levels where we can have better building for better power utilization of the data centers.
Thanks, Rahul. So the next question, from what Rahul has shared is to Mayur. Mayur, again, coming from Control S, and we are sitting in Gujarat, one of the leaders in, solar and wind power generation. So when we talk about scalability, modularity, do you think, there is an option to also consider renewable energy, basically to provide an alternate solution? And I think, not an option, but I think definitely a mandatory consideration going forward when we are looking at sustainability.
Yeah, definitely. We have to find out alternate source for power. Jigar has already mentioned that he gave very beautiful example. The small room can consume gigawatt of power. Rahul has also mentioned about that, the density. As we are growing now, we are moving to AI era where components are getting compact, wherever power consumption is increasing day by day. From where this power will come? Right now, yes, we as a India, as a country, we are power surplus. Maybe after some time, we might be lacking. So we have to start finding not only solar, as you mentioned, that wind energy, hydro energy, or maybe in near future, it could be nuclear as well. We have to explore that option. Again, that is subjective, but that option is also required. When we talk about high density computing, power, dissipate, so that is thing. Gujarat has a potential for data center as well as this alternate power option, because only state where wind is possible, hydro is possible, and also solar is possible. That is very good opportunity. That could be a very big opportunity for any of the data center to come and build. We have already established one data center in Gandhinagar, and it will be up very soon. Like I said, in Mumbai, we have initiated that option of sustainability. By hydro, we are getting power from some PPP arrangement. However, for solar, we have our own solar farm in Vardha. It is very massive. India, one nation, one country, one grid. So we have to pump the power to that grid, and we have to consume from wherever you want to consume this. There are a couple of things which I would like to highlight that is a challenge, because you have to pump that power to the grid and you have to utilize. India is a price sensitive country, and every customer wants some rebate on a pricing point of view, because the moment it triggered the sustainable power, solar power. Everybody think like that you will be getting power at maybe 2 rupees or 3 rupees or 4 rupees maximum. However, EB is 9 rupees. So this is what where we as a data center will be looking from. I believe this is the right time. So we'll be looking for. Thank you. So I was talking about, sir, that there is lots of opportunity in Gujarat. By getting some subsidy, some support in solar power, we will be able to flourish more and more as a data center. And also we can help our customer to get some subsidy benefit or monetary benefit. Because the moment we talk about green power, hydropower, every customer think about that they will get cost benefit. However, outside India, it is costly affair. But in India, as customer are cost sensitive, we want some subsidy that we can discuss. Also, this capex investment of solar or hydro is very high. So we have to, already government is giving subsidy on that. Only for transportation, that is village charge and all this thing, we can find out. I believe there is a session for that as well separately that we can think of. Apart from this, we have to use some other technology, free cooling type of thing, which we are planning in our Hyderabad data center. There is place in interior of Hyderabad, exterior of Hyderabad. During night time, we will be using free air, which will be filtered and utilized within our data center. This will be also alternate option for maintaining this power, and it will reduce the PUE. These are a couple of things which we can use in our data center and get benefit.
Thanks, Mayur. So, as you said that, India is a price sensitive market, and, I mean, not just in data centers, but I think in my view all across. So very quickly, Vivek, given that, we're almost at the end of our time for the panel, and we have a session on policy, infra and investment subsequently. Very quickly, what do you think are those enablers that will help us set up or establish green data centers, and what can Gujarat do? Just briefly, if you can share.
Quickly, I will focus on few points wherein I would like government to focus on. Of course, there are subsidies, lot of subsidies on using solar power or achieving lesser PUE value, probably less than 1.3 PUE value. But then, as Gautam mentioned, there has to be subsidies or incentives for achieving lesser PUEs. support on capex investment which are required for setting up solar plants or wind powers, or probably setting up not only a green data center but a green data center park wherein this clean energy is already provided and incentives are already there. Power is made available at unsubsidized rates. And of course, when there are government tenders going on, as there is mandate for utilizing Make in India initiatives, there has to be rebates for those MSMEs who are using green technologies to promote MSMEs to use more of these green technologies. I think these are some of the points wherein I would like to attract government's attention to include these in policies.
Sure. Thanks, Vivek. And finally, sir, very, I think in a minute, if you could also share your views on, setting up all this infrastructure and operating this infrastructure will require a certain, maturity of skills. So are we there, or what can be done to sort of create that skill ecosystem?
Yeah, thank you. So I think I would like to say that with the initiative of Gujarat government, we at Kaushalya Skill University already doing a lot of things in green data initiatives, with this climate change department. So we hope to create many new jobs in this area, different sectors, especially in data centers. And we are already running a couple of courses like BSc Green and Renewable Energy, and also we are running BSc in Solar Technology. So many such new courses we have planned, and we are working with the industry to actually create more and more jobs. And I hope more than 7 lakh jobs we hope to create in near future in this area. With the help of industry, we can train those many people, and so that the requirement of the industry can be fulfilled there. So that is the key.
Sure. Thank you so much for being succinct here. And with this, we come to the end of our panel. So just to summarize, I think this panel recognizes the that we need data centers, and we recognize that there is a need for green, sustainable physical infrastructure, because compute requirements are going to drive that those requirements. We also have our own goal to reach net zero emissions by 2070, and this is the most opportune time to take steps in establishing critical infrastructures like data centers. And for that, I think a lot of support and an ecosystem has been provided by Government of Gujarat. But there are areas in terms of certain enablers to offset the high costs of setting up these sustainable data centers, and promoting skills to operate such data centers can be looked at. So thank you so much to the panel, and thank you everyone.
Thank you to all the panel members. I would now request Mr. Bhavesh Prajapati, Assistant Director IT, to felicitate Ms. Priyanka Sharma, Moderator, KPMG. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Hitesh Gaur, ICT Officer, to felicitate Shri Mayur Gautam, Senior Vice President, Control S Data Center Limited. Next, I would like a felicitation for Shri Rahul Puri, CTO, Nokia. Next, I would request for the felicitation of Shri Vivek Kharpude, Vice President and Head, ESDS Software Solution Private Limited. And finally, I would like to request the felicitation of Professor Dr. Manish Gupta, Director, Academia, Kaushalya, the Skill University. We're extremely privileged to have with us our Honorable Minister for Science and Technology, whose vision continues to drive Gujarat's leadership in innovation and sustainable digital transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to honor and invite the dignitaries, Shri Arjun Bhai Modwadia, Honorable Minister, Science and Technology, Government of Gujarat. Srimati P. Bharti, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, Government of Gujarat. Srimati Kavita Shah, Director of Directorate of ICT and E-Governance. And finally, Dr. Rajendra Singh Jadeja, Provost, Marwadi University. I may request Srimati P. Bharti, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, to honor Minister Sir Shri Arjun Bhai Modwadia with a flower bouquet. It is our extreme privilege to welcome Secretary Srimati P. Bharti, IAS, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology. We would like to extend our deepest respect to Secretary Madam and would like to invite her for a special address.
Respected and Honorable Minister of State, Science and Technology, Arjun Bhai Modwadia ji, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests from government, industry and academia, good morning and very, very warm welcome to all of you. It is my privilege to address you all on this important topic, Green AI Data Centers. You know, we are going to discuss today, and I already discussed very good points of digital foundation of Gujarat. In previous industry revolution, ports, highways, power plants, these were the strategic national infrastructure. But now, this digital transformation, we are going to talk about data centers, which are the India's athwa countries are global strategic infrastructure. India, world, we have 12,000 data centers with 68 gigawatts. And now the shift is, everybody knows, towards hyperscale AI-focused data centers. India is having 20%, generates 20% of world's data, but we have only 3% of data center capacity. But we are going fast. 2019, we were having 350 megawatts. Now we are roughly around 10,000 megawatts, 1,000 to maybe 1,200 megawatts, 2024. In last 6 years, we've grown from 350 to 1,000. But now our aim is to achieve 2 gigawatts by 27 and 5 gigawatts by 2030. But Jigar told that it is going to be 8 or maybe 16. See the exponential growth that we are envisaging. So for this growth, today maybe the space is very less and the people are less. We are going to talk about the location decisions for these hyperscale data centers right now. The decisions we have to take right now, where this data centers going to be come in India. So Gujarat, the state government and Department of Science and Technology sees this movement with very clarity and conviction. So we are not just talking about a data center, we are also talking about a global capability centers with sustainable innovation ecosystem along with data center. You know how Gujarat is a growth engine, vibrant. Yesterday we seen Honorable Prime Minister's speech and Reliance announcements and all. Gujarat having GSDP with around roughly US dollar 300 billion with 8.6% of India's GDP, and last 7 years we have continuously 12% growth rate. So between 19 and 24, last 6 years, we have 43 billion US dollars for FDI, that is 17% of India's total FDI of India and 30% of India's exports. Why I'm telling this statistics is, please, you know, all of you, how Gujarat is important in India's growth engine. So with this Viksit Gujarat to Viksit Bharat of Honorable PM Saab's vision, Gujarat is aimed to have 1 trillion US dollars economy by 2030, in which this AI is going to be the key enabler and digital infrastructure is going to be the very key in our growth journey. So Gujarat So for this AI data center, we need seven or eight items. I think everybody knows about it. So I will talk about all those 5 or 7 items. One is everybody knows about energy, power, green data center, green power. So in power capacity, we have 55 gigawatts. Out of that, 54% comes from renewable sources, and which is 18% of India's total renewable capacity. Then second is very good power transmission background, and we have very good optical fiber network, very good coastal advantage with 48 ports and upcoming cable landing stations, which will reduce the low latency. Third, we have very good large contiguous land parcels. We are having yesterday also we have announced a lot of GIDC estates, which gives geophysical stability and lot of land parcels. Fourth, Gujarat, water is very important. Gujarat is having very good state water grid with sustainable cooling solutions with hybrid as well as recycled water system. Fifth, Kaushalya, we heard Kaushalya's Skill University head, talent pipeline. Gujarat institutes of, we have lot of institutes of national importance, top ranked engineering colleges, central university. Then every year we are having 50,000 engineering graduates coming from and 54,000 diploma professionals. And sixth, we talk about ecosystem. We have Gift City, India's first IFSC, emerging smart city, Dholera, semiconductor and green industrial city. And then, which is of course very ideal for global capability centers, R&D hubs. Seventh is policy. Strong policy framework. We have very good, clear, stable, investor-friendly policy environment with IT policy, in which we talked about data center specific incentives, cable landing specific incentives, and we are also having dedicated GCC policy 25 to 30. So in these policies, we have CAPEX and SOPEX assistance, employment incentives, interest support, electricity duty exemptions, and etc. You can always go through all those things. Then eighth and last thing is our execution capability and single window facilitation system. We have, especially, you can predict in our approvals, utilities and timelines and absolute necessary. We just don't talk, we just believing, doing and delivering it. So Gujarat offers a unique proposition in 5 items: scale, sustainability, connectivity, talent, and governance. So I invite all of you, industry, academia, startups, global partners, to work with us in shaping the future. Let us build a AI infrastructure that is clean, resilient, and global competitive. Thank you once again for this good opportunity, and looking forward for meaningful deliberations and the digital infrastructure growth journey. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We now move to one of the most important parts of the morning, and that is the MOU exchange ceremony, making major steps towards strengthening Gujarat's digital and green technology ecosystem. Please appreciate the MOU between Marwadi University and the Government of Gujarat, signed by Srimati Kavita Shah on behalf of Government of Gujarat and Professor Dr. Rajendra Singh Jadeja on behalf of Marwadi University, for establishment of a research and development center with the proposed investment being rupees 9 crores. Thank you. Next, we have the MOU between Charotar University of Science and Technology and the Government of Gujarat for establishment of Research and Development Center, ICT and Deep Tech Accelerator and Incubators. These partnerships reflect Gujarat's commitment to innovation, sustainability, and future-ready digital infrastructure. Thank you. It is my sincere request to Shri Arjun Bhai Modwadia, Honorable Minister, Science and Technology, Government of Gujarat, to fill this seminar with more energy by addressing the august assemblage present here.
गुजरात रीजनल वाइब्रेंट गुजरात समिट के ये सेमिनार में उपस्थित पी भारती, सेक्रेटरी, साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ गुजरात, other dignitaries and friends. It is a privilege to be here at the Vibrant Gujarat Regional Conference and to address this flagship seminar on Green AI Data Center powering sustainable digital growth. This gathering marks an important step in India's journey towards sustainable technologies and leadership. जहाँ तक डाटा सेंटर, हाइपरस्केल डाटा सेंटर का सवाल है, उसकी रिक्वायरमेंट क्या होगी उसके बारे में ज़्यादा कहने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. कई फिगर्स है डाटा सेंटर की दुनिया में कहाँ कितना है, लेकिन यूएसए में छोटा बड़ा 5000 से ज़्यादा डाटा सेंटर है. नंबर 2 पर जर्मनी है, वहाँ 500 से ज़्यादा डाटा सेंटर हैं. जब इंडिया में अभी हमें 200 क्रॉस करना है. तो फ्यूचर कितना बड़ा है ये आप सब सोच सकते हैं. फॉरगेट हाइपर स्केल डाटा सेंटर और ओवरसीज डाटा सेंटर जो यहाँ आने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, उनकी बात छोड़िए. तो अभी हमारी डोमेस्टिक रिक्वायरमेंट इतनी बड़ी है और उनके लिए बहुत स्पीड से हमें आगे जाना पड़ेगा. दुनिया में सबसे ज़्यादा उसमें रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है? पहले तो ये आपके कैपिटल चाहिए एस्टैब्लिश करने के लिए, ये और उसमें कैपिटल के लिए सरकार की मदद चाहिए आपको वन टाइम. ये बात सही है, लेकिन उनकी ज़्यादा जो ऑपरेशनल कॉस्ट है, वो ऑपरेशनल कॉस्ट आप सबको जानकारी है कि ये ग्रीन एनर्जी चाहिए उसकी, और पानी वाटर चाहिए, केबल लैंडिंग स्टेशन चाहिए, इसलिए सी कोस्ट चाहिए आप. दुनिया में सबसे अप्रोप्रिएट प्लेस उनके लिए कोई है तो वो गुजरात है. इसलिए कि सबसे पहले सबसे ज्यादा सी कोस्ट 2300 किलोमीटर लंबा गुजरात के पास है, और वहां ही केबल लैंडिंग स्टेशन आपका आ पाएगा. उनके बाद जरूरत है तो जमीन की है, तो जमीन तो हमारे पास है. गवर्नेंस हमारे पास है. गुजरात मॉडल सारी दुनिया में नाम है कि गवर्नेंस यहाँ का हमारी टीम बैठी है, और पूरा हमारी भूपेंद्र भाई पटेल साहब की सरकार है, वो कमिटेड है कि हमें यहाँ डेटा सेंटर लाना है. तीसरी सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरत होगी तो हमारी ये मैन पावर की रहेगी, स्किल्ड मैन पावर की. मुझे बहुत बड़ी खुशी है कि यहाँ मारवाड़ी यूनिवर्सिटी जो गुजरात सौराष्ट्र का ये कैपिटल जरूर है, लेकिन एकेडमिक एक्सीलेंस का सेंटर नहीं है, तो भी यहाँ मुझे बताया गया कि 2018 से यहाँ एआई का कोर्स चल रहा है, और बेंगलोर से लोग पढ़ने के लिए आते हैं, ओवरसीज से आते हैं. तो ऐसी बहुत सारी एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट है कि जो हमारी ये फ्यूचर जनरेशन इंडस्ट्रीज है, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स कंपोनेंट हो, सेमीकंडक्टर हो, स्पेस टेक्नोलॉजी हो, बायोटेक्नोलॉजी हो, एआई हो, डेटा सेंटर हो, सबके लिए यहाँ एक इकोसिस्टम एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट में बन रही है। तो ये इकोसिस्टम मैन पावर की रिक्वायरमेंट के लिए तो है, लेकिन सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत पड़ेगी वो है चिप ग्रीन पावर की। आप सबको मालूम होगा कि हमारा सबसे पहला, जब हमारे मोदी साहब गुजरात के चीफ मिनिस्टर थे, तो हमारा एनर्जी पार्क बना हुआ था बनासकांठा में। तो पावर परचेज एग्रीमेंट हुआ था, वो 15 रुपीज पर यूनिट, एक यूनिट का 15 रुपीज का पावर परचेज एग्रीमेंट हुआ था। और हमें बहुत ही वो कॉस्टली लग रहा था उस समय, क्योंकि ये जो थर्मल पावर है उसी समय हमें 3 या 4 रुपये में हो रहा था। आज के दिन में वो 15 रुपीज पर यूनिट वाला जो रेट है रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी का, वो 15 रुपीज से कम होकर 2 रुपीज 2.40 रुपीज से लेकर 2.80 रुपीज हो गया। और जो थर्मल का रेट है वो 8 रुपीज के करीब हो गया, कभी 12 रुपीज में भी चला जाता है। और आई वुड एश्योरिंग यू कि टेक्नोलॉजी इतनी जल्दी से बदल रही है कि वो रेट 2.40 वाला भी कम हो सकता है। और दुनिया में सबसे ज्यादा रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी कोई स्टेट के पास है तो राजस्थान के बाद गुजरात आता है। पोटेंशियल वहां है, लेकिन राजस्थान में इकोसिस्टम नहीं है। दूसरा लैंडलॉक स्टेट है, वहां सी कोस्ट कहीं अवेलेबल नहीं है। इसलिए जो हमारी सेक्रेटरी ने बताया कि लेटेंसी पीरियड बढ़ेगा अगर वहां तक केबल ले जाना है तो आपको। ये डिसैलिनेशन प्लांट कोस्टल लाइन पे अभी शुरू हो रहा है। हमारे पोरबंदर में ही सापुर जी पालन जी ने 50 mld का प्लांट लगवाया है अभी, ये डिसैलिनेशन प्लांट। और ये जो इन्वेस्टमेंट रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी और रिन्यूएबल वाटर में आ रहा है वो दुनिया में कहीं नहीं है। और हम उसके लिए जो इकोसिस्टम चाहिए डेटा सेंटर के लिए, उनके जो पार्क होना चाहिए, रिडंडेंट पावर चाहिए, पानी चाहिए, जो भी चाहिए वो देने के लिए राज्य सरकार तैयार है। मैं जो एकेडमिया यहाँ बैठे हुए हैं उनको रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि आप जल्दी से कोर्स रिवाइज करिए, चेंजेस लाइए उसमें। और बाकी के जो स्टेक होल्डर हैं उनसे अपील करूंगा कि गुजरात वुड बी द डेस्टिनेशन फॉर द डेटा सेंटर, और वो बन रहा है आज के दिन में। बहुत सारी हाइपर स्केल डेटा सेंटर के लिए अपॉर्चुनिटीज सदर्न स्टेट में लोग जाएंगे, लेकिन सदर्न स्टेट के पास जो रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी चाहिए और वो भी चीप चाहिए, वो 2 ही स्टेट के पास पोटेंशियल है जिसके पास सफिशिएंट लैंड है। बैरन लैंड चाहिए उनके लिए, क्योंकि फर्टाइल लैंड का उपयोग आप रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी के लिए नहीं कर पाते। अभी तो और एक्सप्लोरेशन हो रहा है कि विंड एनर्जी है वो ऑफशोर में भी करें। उनके लिए भी ये हमारी कई कंपनियां ये एक्सप्लोर कर रही है कि ऑफशोर में भी वहाँ आप विंड एनर्जी लगा सकते हैं। हमने यहाँ जो सोलार पावर है नर्मदा केनाल के पर केनाल टॉप जैसी तरह रूफ टॉप होता है, इसी तरह केनाल टॉप हमने सोलार भी लगवाया है। इसलिए यहाँ ऑप्शन बहुत सारे अवेलेबल हैं, तो उसमें आप सब लोग एक्सप्लोर करिए। हमारी जहाँ मदद लगे जरूर लगेगी। यहाँ थोड़ा सा कहा गया कि कैपेक्स ओपेक्स दोनों में चाहिए आपको। दोनों में हम थोड़ा सा जो बदलाव हमारे रिसोर्सेज के मुताबिक हम जितनी भी मदद कर पाएंगे, नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज या हो या फाइनेंशियल रिसोर्सेज हो, कोई भी मैन पावर रिसोर्सेज हो, उसमें मदद करने के लिए तैयार है। आपने देखा है कि जो चैलेंज हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने जो चैलेंज को अपॉर्चुनिटी में बदलने का काम किया आज इस कोरोना के वक्त, कि जरूरत पड़ी मेडिसिन की तो मेडिसिन तो बनी, लेकिन शॉर्टेस्ट पीरियड इन द हिस्ट्री हमने वैक्सीन भी बनाया और वैक्सीन सबको लगाया, 140 करोड़ लोगों को लगाया और दुनिया को भी दिया। उसी समय सेमीकंडक्टर का चैलेंज आया, जो प्रोडक्शन बंद होने से सारी दुनिया की इंडस्ट्री स्टॉल हो गई। उसी समय हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने ये चैलेंज लिया और उसमें सबसे ज्यादा कंट्रीब्यूशन सेमीकंडक्टर प्रोडक्शन में गुजरात का आ रहा है। गुजरात सेमीकंडक्टर का हब बन रहा है, गुजरात स्पेस टेक्नोलॉजी का हब बन रहा है, गुजरात बायोटेक्नोलॉजी का हब बन रहा है, ऑलमोस्ट बन चुका है। इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स कंपोनेंट इंडस्ट्री में भी हम लीड ले रहे हैं और सारी इंडस्ट्री तो आपने सभी देखी होगी कि ट्रेडिशनल जो इंडस्ट्रीज है वो तो गुजरात आज दुनिया देश में नंबर 1 है ही, लेकिन ये फील्ड में भी हम नंबर 1 बनने जा रहे हैं। तो हम आप सबको इनवाइट करते हैं कि आप यहाँ आइए और आकर सभी जो एआई डेटा सेंटर के हाइपर स्केल में पार्टिसिपेट करिए, और इन्वेस्टर हो या कंसल्टेंट हो या एकेडमिया हो, सब अपना रोल अदा करे, ऐसी मेरी आप सबसे रिक्वेस्ट है। आप सब यहाँ जो भी डेलिब्रेट करेंगे, सुझाव देंगे, मैं आपको आश्वस्त करता हूँ कि हम उसके लिए पूरे दिल से प्रयास करेंगे और आपको यहाँ जो भी सुझाव है उसका सीरियसली इंप्लीमेंट करेंगे। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you, sir, for your thoughtful and promising remarks. As a token of gratitude, we would like to take a moment to felicitate the dignitaries. I may now have the privilege to invite Mr. Wasim Mansoori, Deputy Director IT, to felicitate Shri Arjun Bhai Modwadia, Honorable Minister, Science and Technology, Government of Gujarat. Next, I would like to call upon stage Ms. Smita Gosai, Deputy Director, IT, to felicitate Srimati P. Bharti, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, Government of Gujarat. May I please welcome on stage Mr. Dhaval Suthar, Assistant Director, IT, to felicitate Srimati Kavita Shah, Director of Directorate of ICT and E-Governance. Finally, I would like to call Mr. Rajesh Thakaria, Assistant Director, IT, to felicitate Dr. Rajendra Singh Jadeja, Provost, Marwadi University. I would request all the panel members as well as the prominent keynote speakers of the day to be on stage for a group photograph. I would request the second keynote speaker and members of the second panel discussion to be on stage for a group photograph. Now, I would like to call upon the Department of Science and Technology team to have a green. Okay. I would request the dignitaries from Marwadi University to be on stage for a group photograph. Now is the time to call the members of DST for a group photograph. We now invite our second keynote speaker, Mr. Khushminder Singh, Vice President and Head of Data Centers, YOTA. Mr. Khushminder Singh will speak on the theme, Next Generation Technologies Powering Green Data Centers.
I want to see from that. That can be done, right? Okay. And this is that. Okay. This is for the laser. All. Hello. I'm audible, right? Okay. Hey, good morning to everyone. Well, my name is Kushminder. I'm from YOTA Data Centers. And while I was listening to Mr. Jigar and the panel, the one thing is very clear, which is came out of this is that there is a requirement of green energy for these data centers. Probably my presentation to certain extent will have answers to these questions. And before I start my presentation, I was just overhearing our honorable minister. One thing is I'm very confident about that government is very clear about the data center requirement, be it power, be it cable, be it any other subject related to it. So definitely we have a very bright future as connected to data centers industry. Well, I have kept few slides very basic just because I was not aware about the kind of the people who will be here listening about this presentation. However, I just came to know that a few students are also here. Probably it will help them also, to understanding what is exactly the data center. So going on to next, gentlemen, with this agenda, I will be covering my presentation to following what is data center, subdivision within the data center, power consumption parameters and energy demand, power transmission and distribution, grid functioning, which is very important for the perspective of policy making also, and for the perspective of establishment of any green energy sector in case we are establishing. Then certain power sources for the data center, whether brown and green, some technology available, benefits and challenges, and I'll conclude accordingly.
Gentlemen, this is for the basic study slide. The data centers are the physical facility which housing critical IT infrastructure like servers, storage, networking, centralized data storage, as processing and distribution, acting as a backbone for the digital service like cloud computing, streaming, and AI with robust power, cooling, and security, thus ensuring the constant availability and reliability. Gentlemen, this constant availability and reliability is the word. When we talk about the green energy, about wind and power, it is not made available 100% with the connection to these two factors. So data centers broadly can be divided into these 5-6 parts. First is core and shell, that is civil building. That is MEP part is mechanical, electric, plumbing. Power provisioning, that is main and backup. Backup can be, main can be electricity. Main can be hydrogen operating, substations and projects. And backup can be in amalgamation of these, with the hybrid systems can be made. Non-IT critical infrastructures include generator, chillers, HT panels, and IT infrastructures to servers, network, and storage. And ultimately, the layer 7 OSI model, which we have started long back, about managed services, cloud computing, and applications which are being used at the user level. Now, power consumption figures we have seen in every presentations and talked about by various speakers here. In my own data center and everyone's data center, if you see today, the per rack capacity is 6 to 9 kilowatt, which is around 42U or 52U, these racks. This capacity is enhanced from almost 10 times, 50 to 100. Now, I'm just giving the practical example. The data center which I'm managing is 40 watt one operational building. If you enhance this particular power of one rack from 10 times, the 40 megawatt data center building will go up to 400 megawatt. You see the now requirement of energy for the specific to only data center in India now. And from where this energy will go to come is need to be think upon about from all of us, to including government, our academia, and our project people and implementers. So AI will be the main factor, as Mr. Jilani also have highlighted, is doubling the energy requirement till 2030. And IEA report says the US, Europe, and China is collectively responsible for 85% of the data center requirement. However, India comes under the 20%, along with other countries in the developing countries. Now, India current and projected consumption, gentlemen. Data center power load was around 1.4 gigawatt in 24 last year, and is projected to exceed by 1 gigawatt by 26 and to be reached by 8 to 9 gigawatt by 2030. Just look at the figures enhance the energy requirement in data center. National share if you see today, it's a 1% of total consumption, which is going to be 3% by 2030. It's a huge jump in the requirement, and all because of probably the AI impact is one of the main reasons, of course, in that. This is just a graphic representation of the same, which is in the whole world, how the countries are being using the power across the data centers in the respective area. So this is very important slide, gentlemen, which is thereafter then I'm diverting towards the actually green energy requirement and the projects, which is options available towards India and which are into progress, of course. The first is what is the demand procedures, power supply distribution, and maintaining balance. Before understanding the balancing of the particular functioning of the grid, we need to understand 2-3 factors: how the power is demanded. If somebody is from the energy sector, probably know better, and how it is being met from supply balance between supply and demand at the zonal level and at the grid level, right? So first of all, I'll take in 3. First is how energy is generated. It is generated by a generator. Generator got a one rotor and one got a stator. रोटर में आप कंडक्टर लगा दीजिए, स्टेटर में आप मैग्नेटिक फील्ड लगा दीजिए. Whenever this movement of this conductor is made to move in a variable magnetic field, it moves the electrons flows. You capture this electron as electricity, right? And thereafter you make it transfer by utilizing, this transformer by 220 as per the requirement, where from A to B, where how much distance you're going to cover for transmit of these, electricity, current. So that is how. So this is one way of generation of electricity. Now, second point comes is demand and supply. These generator sets are made to, why I'm going into detail, because this need to understand how you're going to devise the policy about it. See, when the generator functions, so generators made to function to work on a specific frequency, which is 50. It cannot go beyond 60, cannot come down below 40. What will happen in case if this happens is, it will go to failure the generators, and finally it will ultimate failure the grids, which is the national crisis, right? So that we need to understand. Now comes third portion is how we are calculating the demand requirement at data centers, maybe even here also, maybe anywhere else for that matter. So the power requirement is calculated every 15 minutes, gentlemen. It is a very rigorous process. And every tendering is being processed every 2.5 hours before the requirement. And this is a continuous process being happened. And if somebody is giving the wrong calculations or projections for the demand, ultimately at the zonal or the national level, some department somewhere has to pay for it. And it is also seeks the penalty to the wrong demand, which is given by any department. So this is very important. Now, if implications, I'll tell you, if your demand is more and supply is less, so ultimately what will go to happen, some lower priority sector load will be shed, number one. In case before that, what happens is, the generators try to make up the energy demand, so they will increase the speeds of generation of electricity, thus enhancing the frequency of the electricity, which will lead to subsequently failure of your generators and subsequently to the grid also at the national level or the zonal level, if you see. So that is how it is difficult and has to be compensated and to be seen in that perspective. So maintaining balance is very important. Calculation for the power is also very important. So now coming with this understanding, now we'll go to this two things come out of this. First is the continuity and second is the reliability. Okay. So now the various power sources in India and abroad also are mostly with thermal electricity, hydroelectricity, solar and wind we talked about a lot. Then two important things, I mean, it's a new thing, which student and even we all need to think upon. Nuclear energy and SMRs, that is small modular reactors, and PEM electrolyzers along with the fuel cells. So solar and wind integration, when the sun shines or the wind blows, of course, the solar panels and wind turbines gather energy to generate electricity power homes and businesses. And there are certain advantages just for the sake, because I have been just given a 10 minutes on this because it requires more than that. I'll just shortcut slightly speed up my presentation. So as far as the advantages are concerned, it is a green, clean and green, no fuel cost of course emission is required, water consumption is comparatively less, have the low cost, energy independence, of course job creation is one, and stable prices. Operation and reliability benefits are there in case if it's be clubbed with a hybrid system, with other systems also, right? And disadvantage includes intermittency, space requirement is more, production footprints, storage cost is comparatively higher, and efficiency loss, of course, because of having the continuity and reliability factor compared to the other like hydro and thermal electricity source are there. Similar is goes with the wind. So I'll skip this. Now comes is electricity generation through nuclear sources. This is something which is very important to understand, which is upcoming field, of course, not yet matured in India, even in world also. One need to understand. But before going on to specific to the operation part and implementation part of it, I would like to just, give you a slight about this Shanti Bill, which is one of the very good initiative has been taken by Government of India. In Shanti Bill, they have introduced a consolidated legal structure that brings regulation enforcement, civil liability and dispute resolution under a single statute. Good for the business people. Second thing, they have prioritized the nuclear sector under the terms and conditions, which was not so earlier before this amendment, before this Shanti Bill 2025. Now even the private sector can participate in this, can develop the SMRs, can include in this. And for the info of all of the people who are here in the forum, I would like to tell you that when I have done the research, many Indian peoples have made their companies in the US and are doing the research on the same work, and they're developing the SMRs. This is a very good thing. Though, however, government agenda in the recent years to boost the clean energy, of course, improve grid stability and move towards a 2017 net zero, which will go to, of course, met by this particular one development of nuclear energy. And the best part is 20,000 crore mission announced in the budget this year to develop small modular reactors and slew of customized 220 megawatt pressurized heavy water reactors, Bharat small modular reactors. This is again all part of this Shanti Bill 2025. This is just for the sake of understanding that how actually these SMRs looks like. They are generally around 18 feet length And the complete project setup can be done in a football field ground, unlike establishment of a thermal plant where it takes the acres of land. And similarly, as for the even hydro plant where you need to develop a dam and then generator sets and the complete project. So advanced nuclear reactor with a small, they are small physical size and the energy output capability than the typical large reactors, unlike the Homi Bhabha and those larger reactors, conventional reactors. They are 30 feet tall. SMRs are just 18. And micro reactors are even that small that they can even put into the trailer in the semi trucks. They can even move from a location to another locations, can be made besides any energy data centers, and can fulfill the requirement of energy, electricity there. The SMRs, of course, this refers to what I have just stated on the slide. This is reduced in small in size. It can ranges from the productions of the electricity can be from 10 megawatt electric to 300 megawatt. Now look at this, 300 megawatt. My own data center, which is, it is in 20,000 acres of land, having a one data center operation building is 40 megawatt. Around 6 building we plan to have, so which is 240 megawatt. The complete data center park's energy requirement can be met by one SMR, placed just co-located besides my data center. That is how the capability these SMRs have. Look at this. So, but only thing is, of course, there is a lot to do in this sector. And reactor, of course, I think student and we all of you must be knowing it, that how it is just energy is produced by the controlled efficient reaction, where the neutrons are get absorbed by, inserting those borons and cadmium rods. I mean, I'm sure the science students are all aware about it. So operation status of SMRs as on date, the few very small reactors are already operational in China and Russia. Just to update here, the floating nuclear power plant operated by Akri Kantov, there's a company in Russia who is made operational from May 2020. And in China, it is the okay. And in China, it is the Hunong Group, which is connected to the SMR nuclear plant, which has started its operation in December 2021. So why I especially have included these two lines is, in this, already the few countries are into it and they are into the operational. They already have made these SMRs which are operational in the, for production of energy. Handful around 90 of the full operational SMRs are present. They are scheduled for a future deployment, are currently in design phase, under construction and awaiting licensing, of course. Advantage, of course, it has smaller footprint. This is affordable, comparable as to the bigger ones, conventional energy production projects, and versatile in installations. They do have the enhanced safety requirements, reduce the environmental impact as compared to other which are creating, these pollution byproducts. Certain disadvantages, regulatory challenges, of course. That's why the Shanti Bill has, come with the factor that privatization is done with some terms and conditions. Safety concerns are, of course, and there is a limited scale as of now because production is hardly any. So whenever the production will increase, of course, it is going to scale to economy. Waste management, nuclear is a challenge, of course, and proliferation risk, of course, the misuse of the technology towards development of weapon is one of the concerns. Now, last is about the PEM electrolyzer. This is again one of the very interesting technology. So how they do it is, we all have studied about the electrolysis of water. You just split the water into hydrogen and oxygen. You capture the hydrogen, store it at some place, and utilize this hydrogen is very inflammable, have the very much a calorific value. You utilize this hydrogen for production of energy, whether to the heat or towards or to electricity also. In heat is, of course, it can be produced by combustions. However, electricity can also be produced by utilizing this hydrogen is by reversing the process of electrolysis. That I'll just come to it. So this is the process when the 2H2, I mean, it's quite scientific, okay. This is the process actually. It's got a separator and got a purifier. You just split the water into hydrogen and oxygen, and then, you separate it, and then you, deaerated it, and then you can store it, and then subsequently it can be utilized as per your requirement. You can have multiple applications for that. Either you can use it directly as a fuel, or you use it further for generation of electricity by utilizing the fuel cells. This is about the overview of fuel cell for understanding, gentlemen and ladies. A fuel cell is an electrochemical device that converts hydrogen. Okay, I'll just tell you about this. See, what happens is, there is a membrane filled in the cell. You have an anode, you have a cathode. I don't know, the students might have the better understanding, and maybe others also. So hydrogen is made to flow on an anode, which splits, it ionizes basically this hydrogen atom. So the membrane has got the property, the electrolyte has got the property, which is filled in the center, in between this, to just attract the protons part of it and thus help in shedding of the electrons there and there. The shedded electrons, they are captured in an electrode, and that is what electricity is. That is how the electricity is produced. These protons, when get mixed with the water, I mean oxygen that is taken from air, they convert it into water. So the byproducts are small dissipated heat, and second is the water is the byproduct. No other pollutants being produced in this process. So it is really a good source. Probably if we have built it and developed it further. This is a basic parameters of this fuel cell. The pure hydrogen is being utilized, which is operating from 50 to 80 degrees of Celsius. Its starting time is 10 seconds to 2 minutes, which is immediate and DG sets, which is utilizing the diesels. And byproducts are water and low-grade heat. So there is no variants of nitrogen or sulfur or the PMs, which generally creates the pollution. This is just I have included one diagram for your understanding, how actually it functions. Okay, this is something interesting which I just explained to you, how the hydrogen comes to the anode, how the splitting of this in the ionization takes place, how this protons then subsequently combined with the oxygen to produce the water. So byproduct comes out to be your water and a little bit of heat, and electricity is generated. This is a comparative analysis between the diesel and the fuel cell. Just very interesting. If you see a diesel genset and a fuel cell genset, where the diesel and green hydrogen is being used simultaneously, of course, respectively. Okay. So it is an instant start as the 10 seconds to 2 minutes. There the various variants of pollutants are being emitted. However, here there's no pollutant emission is taken, come out of the reactions of hydrogen. Then very silent operation. This is 60 to 90 decibel, and then fuel cell genset, it is just lesser than 5 dB, which very silent operations. Widely available, of course, established supply, growing hydrogen infrastructures, yes. Medium to high in terms of fuel and maintenance, and potentially low about the operating cost. Longevity and reliability, if you see the proven and the mature technology, and of course, fuel cell is growing as of now. Space requirement moderate. Here it is compact as compared to the others. Sustainability, fossil fuels and high carbon footprints aligns with net zero goals with the hydrogen. And if it's a lifespan, it is almost double, vis-a-vis comparing to your diesel gensets. Now, this is again very interesting from the business perspective. If you see the cost, I have taken the considering parameters of generation of 160 kilowatt ampere with the operational time of just 10 hours. If you see, we are saving upon, the details are there on the slides. The second last row is showing the hydrogen saves around 19,000 rupees per every 10 hours. It's a huge saving, which is around 60.6% cheaper than the diesel. That is how it is supporting your business goals also, in terms of profitability. So these are the few advantages, of course. Zero on-site emissions, no diesel spill risk, eliminate local, these variants of nitrogen and pollutants, supports grid decarbonization, of course, and very quiet operation, less than 5 decibels. Again, net zero life cycle carbon footprints, reduces resilience on the fossil fuels logistics, minimizes hazardous waste, recyclable components, and align with the net zero and ESG targets enabling compliant. Now, it is not just a bookish thing, right? Why I slated, we have already implemented certain projects in India, which is working towards it. Like the IOCL refinery, Panipat is already have established this hydrogen plant, and they are producing 1 megawatt electrolyte, producing 430 kg of hydrogen per day, and 3,000 kgs of on-site storage. The data is over the slides. Similarly, the BPCL refinery Bina is commissioned with a 5 megawatt green hydrogen plant. Torrent Power Gorakhpur, just have our honorable UP CM, Mr. Yogi ji, has inaugurated the same, where the facility generates a 72 TPA. So it is already in place. Things are moving. VOC port Tuticorin, this is also has been established for the production of green hydrogen. NHPC microgrid Leh, which is under construction as of now. So this is again very interesting. So it's not that we are just talking about in air. The things are moving in India, and they are already into production, and they are about to. The only thing is required is this technology need to have more maturity, more stabilization, so that this energy requirement from the green energy source can be met for the data center, maybe for others also. With this, gentlemen, I think I have finished my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would request you to please be on stage for a while. I would appeal Ms. Smita Gosai, Deputy Director, IT, to felicitate Shri Kushminder Singh, Vice President and Head of Data Centers, YOTA. Our next important dialogue would be focusing on policy, investment, and infrastructure ecosystem for gigawatt-scale green AI data centers. This session will explore how Gujarat is emerging as a national hub for green data infrastructure through strong policy frameworks and collaborative opportunities. The panelists include industry, Mr. Achal Gupta, Head of Procurement, L&T Department, Mr. Amit Agarwal, President, Techno Digital, Mr. Gautam Jeena, Head of Strategy, STT Global Data Centers. From the academia, we have Dr. Rajendra Singh Jadeja, Marwari University, and may I please have the opportunity to call the moderator, Mr. Kishan Baravalia, co-founder, Kultham Private Limited.
Hello. So, namaskar everyone. And we heard about the policy, we heard about the green data center, we heard about the cooling, power, everything. We heard that how Gujarat is moving in a green data center. Okay, so since more than 2 decades, Gujarat is policy-driven states. Okay, and our this session is more on a policy, capital, infrastructure. Okay, and this is focusing on the green data center. So today's era, today's AI world, okay, so data center is just not the infrastructure, it's a national, against national security and national assets, okay. So this panel will focus on the power investment in infrastructure, and I welcome to all the panel member who has deep experience in procurement, data center building, infrastructure building, and the skill development in education, okay. So my first question to Achal. So at gigawatt scale, procurement becomes the critical things. Okay, so from CPU to GPU, coolings, powers, and everything, when power components, everything is very critical components. Okay, so at gigawatt scale, what one thing Gujarat should take that, and in terms of the procurement, in terms of the policy change, that we can accelerate this data center deployment at gigawatt scale in Gujarat?
Thanks, Kishan, for putting such thought-provoking question to the panel. And before proceeding, I would like to thanks to Government of Gujarat for organizing such wonderful event and listening to the industry needs. If you see from data center speed, cost for the go-to-market strategy, all the elements which you said, whether it is GPU, whether it is infrastructure, power, cooling technology, network, everything is equally very, very important. Today, if you let us start with GPU. Today, 80% of the GPU requirement is met worldwide with one party, NVIDIA. This requirement is generated from the hyperscaler, a lot of requirement. And the quantity allocation is being rationed to these major hyperscalers. So if any requirement comes of the GPU, it will take time to spin off your workloads, and it will not be on immediate basis. Coming to, let's say, infrastructure, let's say, particularly your mechanical and electrical equipment, let's talk about transformers, switchgear, GIS. Today, the lead time of these items is 15 months to 24 months. It is not easy. Let's say earlier, any data center, ideal lead time is around 18 months to go live, the data center. These electrical equipment, talk about transformer and those, it will take lead time reaching to 24 months, because today industry requirement, power requirement is keep on increasing. So it is going to take time, speed. You can't go spin off your workload quite fast. Coming to the cooling technologies, now the cooling technologies are keep on changing from air cooling earlier to now RSTX, your DCLC, liquid cooling, and immersive cooling. And these cooling technology you will decide based on the workload requirement of the data center. You can't depend on one cooling technology as such. So the data center should meet all those requirements, and these cooling technologies, particularly liquid cooling and your immersive cooling, these technology components are coming from outside. It is being imported. So it is going to take time from your workload requirement spin-off point of view. It is going to take time. Now, if you talk about the power side, if you see these data centers, these are very power consuming requirement, and these data centers when it will scale in megawatts capacity. So the power augmentation has to be in place. Power capacity has to be planned much in advance, because power augmentation will take time, and if the power is not available to the nearest substation, to the nearest your transmission lines, you can't spin off your requirement quite fast. As we have listened, various speaking panels, renewable energy, you sign today any PPA, it will take 12 months time to deliver your green energy to you. It will not be very fast. So by that time, sustainability, your ESG criteria will be strained. Now, let's talk about network. These AI data centers are very much low latency and high network consuming. It is good that today Gujarat is bringing cable landing station, which is foremost need. And that is the reason today, if we see Mumbai as a location or the Chennai as a location, it is booming because the network latency is low. And if Gujarat is getting cable landing station, that is good, and that is the huge and that is a requirement of the data center. Now, what Gujarat can do to make it as a global on DC parks availability with very approved everything, we can let's have shared infrastructure in place in these DC parks. When I say shared infrastructure, it is like power. You can have power, let's say 765 kV substation to that DC park, and from there, power can be tapped to the different DC data centers. Can we think of cooling as a service? Can there be cooling in place where cooling can be tapped, because cooling is very important parameter. If cooling as a service is there, then it is like then plug and play. Okay, your power is there, your cooling is there. We can move that data center as per the requirement very fast. Third one is the power. When I say the power, yes, the power capacity availability and the renewable power. We have listened about the solar, we have talked about wind, but solar and wind, it has some constraint. It can't supply power around the clock 24/7. We need 24/7 power availability at the data center, which is at the most competitive prices to make it a global location for the data centers. So we have to think as a policy for the time being till the time we get the newer technologies like nuclear, SMR. Let's think about the banking policies in place for the renewable power, so that we can think about 24/7. Otherwise, today, if we talk about solar, it is giving approximately 12 hours power. Remaining 12 hours, we are depending on thermal power. So these are, and of course, about the localization, whatever items are being imported today, and it has high lead item, huge inventories we have to keep, or long time we have to wait. So localization, local manufacturing is to be promoted for those items. These are my inputs. Thank you.
Thank you, Anchal. It was nice input. So next question to Amit sir. So since you are building the India's leading interconnected hyperscaler and the edge data center, okay, so in design principle, what kind of things should keep in mind, like power density, neutrality, or the green data center, means green, I can say the sustainability and modularity? What should consider to go at the high scale deployment? Okay, and considering that from infrastructure standpoint, what is the one thing Gujarat must get right to lead the data center deployment in India and Gujarat?
Thank you, Kishan, and thanks Government of Gujarat for inviting us to share our views. See, the question that you asked me has three different parameters. One is in terms of what needs to be done. We heard about the data center capacity in India, how we are growing. We are growing at a very rapid space. One thing which is very common, we are all talking about hyperscale data centers, right? Whereas, the requirement is in terms of pervasive data centers, because we have seen in India, the growth of data center has been very constrained in top 5 or 6 cities. Whether it was because of cable landing station initially, second was governance. Today, the second highest data center growth is in state of Telangana. That is also, because of the state policies. Then we see Karnataka as one of the state which is coming up very well. But typically it was very limited to the 5 or 6 cities. Now, what we need to understand that the data generation in India is quite, widespread. We are not generating the data only in the urban cities. In fact, the consumption of data in rural has is more than what data is being consumed in the cities. So as data consumption is concerned, we are a very democratic country, right? The data is being consumed, data is being generated in various parts of this country, but the data refinery is limited to these states or limited to these locations. And that's where the decision that we took was that we will take the technology to the nearest possible point of consumption. That's where we tied up with Railtel, which has a network across the country, and we are setting up edge data centers. Now, how edge data centers will be beneficial in terms of the growth, not only from a data perspective, but also from a state perspective, that Within a state also, it will be various points where this edge data centers will be available. So if we are talking about a state of Gujarat, we will not be constrained to, let's say, Gift City, right? Today, most of the data centers have been mushrooming around the Gift City. We are talking about putting up a data center in Rajkot. We are putting up a data center in multiple parts of the countries, right? So that is the advantage that we see that edge data centers will bring, apart from developing hyperscaler parks, which will definitely bring more investment in India because of the economies of scale. Now, if we see India, we have all discussed in terms of our potential, but we should also see in terms of our constraints, right? Though we are a country which is, possibly one of the very few countries where our renewable power is matching the traditional power. Today, India consumes about 500 gigawatts of power, right? Out of which 250 gigawatts is a renewable power that is getting generated. The challenge is in terms of getting that renewable power to the grid. Like Mayur also spoke, we are one country, one grid, right? Very good, but that also puts constraint. Where is the grid going, right? For example, the parent company that I come from, Techno, we have this task of developing the power infrastructure in the country. So we are doing one project in Bhuj, 765 kVA power grid substation we are building up. We are doing one in two more locations within Gujarat to get this 765 kVA substations to the remotest part of the country, so that the power is available. The distribution then can be taken from these substations of power grid to the remotest part of the state. So those are certain things that we are doing, and that will definitely cut down the losses. We have heard that now Power Grid is talking about having DC power being transmitted. Right now we have AC power being transmitted across the grid, and thus our losses are very high. We are talking about DC power grids, which will help in terms of limiting the losses, practically making them nil. So that will be the sea change that we will have. Today also, with this infrastructure that we have, we are world's most lucrative country for setting up the data center for AI. The cost of power is less than 8 cents. Given all the wheeling charges that we pay, the cost of generation of power, various policies, various interstate policies. Electricity is a state subject, whereas the power grid is a central unit. So all those challenges being faced, today the cost of power in India is one of the cheapest. We have most renewable power, and today we have not, as Kushminder was mentioning, we have not harnessed the capabilities of alternate resources of power like nuclear, hydrogen, geothermal. We have a Canbay refinery basin where there is a huge potential of around 5 to 6 gigawatt of power available as geothermal power. Now, if we start harnessing that, the cost of power in India will be cheapest. Second, as Jigar mentioned, we are a data generation country. 20% of the data is being generated by us. What is needed most in a AI workload is in terms of data sufficiency, or the model, how the training of the model needs more and more data, which today, fortunately, unfortunately, we are the ones. And that's the reason why, we should not be happy that everybody is giving the tools for free. If Google is giving tool for free, we are the product. If OpenAI is giving free tool, we are the product. We are giving the data to them, which is very valuable, right? And that's where, we have advantage. We have policy in place, and I see no reason that India will grow much faster than any country in the world as far as data center is concerned. Achal mentioned about certain challenges. Yes, those challenges are pervasive, and unfortunately, we don't have any control over that. One of the challenges in terms of rising cost of hardware. We never thought about hardware as a cost. Today, because of the setup of AI factories, the cost of basic things like memory chipset, the storage devices, has gone up by more than 50%, 60%. That's a building block of a AI factory. If the input cost will be higher, our cost of delivery will be higher. So as a country, I think we are fairly positioned as far as basic infrastructure is concerned, as far as policy is concerned, but we lack a lot in terms of implementation. We lack a lot in terms of our will to execute. And that has taken us time. We have lost last 1.5, 2 years in terms of setting up these AI factories. We are now gearing up. Already the world has wide awake, right? And that's the reason why our cost of delivery will be little higher than what if we would have perceived it 2 years earlier. Given that, because of our potential, I think I see no reason that India will fare good. As far as state of Gujarat is concerned, definitely, we spoke about having a cable landing station. Yes, cable landing station will do a great job. But the more important is in terms of the work that state of Gujarat has done in terms of creating a fiber optical network. The Gujarat fiber optical network is one of its kind, which connects all the city states, right? The second, today we are sitting in a location of Rajkot, which is known for its machine tools and foundry. We'll require a lot in terms of innovations coming from that. One is in terms of the cooling, right? We talk about DLC, we talk about RDHX, but most of it is coming again from outside. But there's no reason that why can't we develop this in India? I think some of the members and Kishan, they're developing the technology here in India. So sovereignty of the technology is also very important, which we are developing. I think state of Gujarat, given its huge prestige in terms of the manufacturing base, the innovative manufacturing chipset, cable landing station, I see no reason. The only request from the state is not only extend the benefits to large data centers, but also be more sympathetic about small data centers also, the edge data centers that we want to put. So the policies should include edge data centers as well, so that pervasiveness of technology can be further enhanced.
Thank you. So we heard about the supply chain risk, we heard about the infrastructure, and we heard that there are supply chain risks and lead time is increased from, I can say, from 18 months to 24 months because of that supply and demand gap. Okay, and other part is that Gujarat has a good policy, good governance. So considering this all factor, and Gujarat has I can say the cable landing station, Gujarat has a good amount of renewable energy. Okay, so all these, considering all these factors, okay, so what other types of factors like policy stability, power economics, ESG requirements, or the hyperscaler alignment, or the market availability, okay, in Gujarat or in India that we can support? So considering all these, what one thing Gujarat should get to lead the AI computing from Gujarat to the India at global scale?
First of all, thanks for the question, and a big thanks to the DST team for for this opportunity as well. I think a lot has already been spoken, right? And what I've heard from various speakers, and especially from the Honorable Minister and Bharti ma'am, the cognizance of what it takes to at least the fundamental pillars, right? Fundamental pillars / constituents of what it takes. That's, the cognizance is there. In some cases, Gujarat is anyways a leader, let's say in terms of power, renewable energy, and so on and so forth. So I'll make it brief. There are fundamentals and there are foundationals, right? And I represent a company which is, which is one of India's largest and oldest data center, pure play data center players. And we also are the oldest data center player in the state, private data center player in the state, right? We have a setup in your gift. So we are acutely aware, and we have seen the transition of how data centers have scaled from sub megawatt to 5 megawatts to 20 megawatts. Now we're talking about 100 megawatt campuses. Now soon we're talking about half a gigawatt to gigawatt campuses as well, right? What does not change are three things, right? One is data centers always required power, right? They will continue to require power at scale, right? I think Gujarat from that perspective has that covered. I believe what needs to be done more at a national level, but as a state, probably Gujarat has it more covered. But the power infrastructure roadmaps, we perhaps are not appreciating this, considering we say that we are generation surplus, so on and so forth. We don't appreciate the grid strains at the localized levels, which gigawatt scale power demands could potentially cause, right? That is one. Number two is policy. It's great to have a lot of policies, right? And certain states like Gujarat lead in policy making, acutely aware of what the industry needs. A, policy execution, and B, interlinkages between policies, right? That's what creates an ecosystem. I was looking up, I saw a GCC policy being mentioned. Gujarat has an IT/ITS policy. Are those policies linked? I'm not very sure, but at a certain point of time, we would want, right, the next phase of policies to be interlinked, because each policy addresses a certain part of the value chain, and one component of the value chain feeds either upstream or downstream to it's linked to the another part of the value chain, and that will be true for data centers as well. So one is policy interlinkage. Second is policy, second is the execution part of policies. I believe from an execution perspective, when the rubber hits the road, execution is something which is key, right? We have seen instances in other states where a great data center policy has come up, right? A simple thing like a GO has not been issued for 2 years, 3 years. In fact, we're still waiting, right? So execution, having all the right intent is great. Execution is key. Networks. Networks for data centers, and great to hear about the cable landing station initiative. Gujarat, the network is pretty much top tier from an India perspective. That is taken care of, no particular mention there. One thing which we have not mentioned throughout the entire course of this entire multiple sessions that we have had, is demand. There was a time about 1.5 years back in Mumbai, considered the data center capital of India, where every CFO was sweating for 3 quarters when one particular segment went offline from a demand perspective. I won't mention the segment, and neither will I mention the players. But the fact is, India structurally is 80% dependent. Demand is 80% dependent on a certain segment, right? Is that right for the long-term health of the sector? Perhaps not. So, which is why we need to look beyond the hyperbole. There is a lot of inherent demand in the country. We keep on talking about 20% data generation. Where does the data go? Where does it get processed? Where does it get stored? Right? So can that 20% not translate into 20% of the data center capacity? So demand. Anyway, I'll come to the sovereign part of it later. I believe demand is extremely important for a data center hub to be created. Visibility to demand. Pre-leasing is very important. Anchoring is very important. And why is it important? Because let's look at the risk, right? We're talking about $7 million a megawatt. And I'm only talking about passive infra, right? What STT does. If we add the active components, that's a few multiples more. So for a gigawatt scale, you're looking upwards of 10, 15, 20. I don't know. That's sort of an investment for a gigawatt scale investment. We don't want to land up with stranded assets. And Have there been stranded assets in the past? At a much smaller scale, yes. We have experienced that ourselves, which is why demand is key. Good to ride the hype, but always good to be grounded in demand. And every investor, every sane investor will base his or her investment decisions basis demand. Right. Now coming to the role, I mean, maybe I'm just preempting, right? Coming to the role the government can play. Let's look at what are the for me, there are two fundamental risks, right? One is policy stability and continuity. Second is demand. Demand, as I mentioned, demand, as I mentioned, is one of the things that one of the things with respect to demand is as I said, structurally over dependence on a particular segment. We need to work around it. We need to continue to cater to that segment, but then again need to move on and create other segment pockets. How can the government help? That figure what we saw, and I believe Jigar mentioned the 5 to 8 megawatt thing. I mean, we have done that as well. I mean, our last year number for our long-term plan was 4.5. Right? We just almost sort of scaled it up 70%. A lot of that number will, but that is you have to understand that is supply, right? How do those billion-dollar assets get filled? A large role to play in developing Indian enterprises, right? Developing those pockets. And second, government has a huge role to play in both from a policy perspective and anchoring demand perspective. Trust me, with the sort of distributed government workloads that we have, most of them half in the cloud, right? And I mean, it's just majorly distributed. If there were to be some cohesion around government workloads, we are looking at multiple gigawatts of demand potentially coming over the course of a few years, only from the larger government/PHC segment, if structurally, policy-wise, a lot of things can get into place.
Data sovereignty. Yeah, that's like data sovereignty.
That as well. And how does it impact? A, to the sector, it provides diversification. B, anyways, I mean, if you look at the geopolitical risks that we have been looking at and the events which have happened, right? I mean, you need sovereign digital infrastructure in India. And sovereign need not just be a government-built data center, right? It can be in the private space, but a data center which is housed in India, caters to Indian demand. So, and we just recently saw a major event last week, right? And when you start dissecting that event, you understand how important it is to have control over your digital stack, right? So the infra stack, in the infra part of it, I believe at the application layer, the DPI is a great story. At the infra layer, we need to build that great story. And building that story will help anchor a lot of this private investment which is coming in. I think between policy execution and catering for demand, we should have all the bases covered. Yeah.
Okay. So we are moving to the last question, okay, in the interest of time. So last question is to the Dr. Rajendra. So since entire AI demand is increasing, okay, so all the like education, skill development is already happening towards the AI skill development on software side, computation side. So we think that to support the complete infrastructure, okay, so how do we move towards the core engineering side, like I can say the AI infrastructure support, operational side, power side, core physics, core mathematics? What kind of rescaling or changes in education would you like to do in the next couple of years that can support the large scale deployment at accelerated space?
Okay. I think what we understand from today's discussion, see, lots of changes are going to happen in the industry, right? And that we are going to cop up with the industry or not, that is the biggest challenge for academia. Let me tell you very frankly, in the state of Gujarat, you rightly said that how we are going to motivate our youth. Last 10 years data statistics, if you see in the state of Gujarat, 81% of students, those who are enrolling for 11th and 12th, they are selecting commerce and economics related courses. Only 19% students, they are going for PCM. That means physics, chemistry, and maths. So towards STEM education in the state of Gujarat is lagging. If you compare other state, a south part, maybe Karnataka or Andhra or Telangana, 81% students, they are taking STEM education, means physics, chemistry, and maths, while 18-19% students only going for commerce and economics related courses. So that is the biggest challenge here in the state of Gujarat. We are trying at our level best to motivate the students, to motivate the parents, how we can inculcate our students and explain the importance of physics, chemistry, and maths. And those who are enrolling for PCM related courses here in India as well as in the state of Gujarat, 80% of students, they are enrolling for computer related courses. Hardly 20 or 25% admissions are happening in India today. That is core related courses, means electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, or in chemical engineering, where we need lots of expertise in terms of manufacturing engineering as well as in chemical domain. Here, Marwadi University is located only 80 kilometers from Reliance Industries, where they are going to build up hydrogen energy storage devices, AI data center, and renewable energy. So it's only 80 kilometers from this place. They require lots of thousands of engineers here. And here, yesterday, Parakramsi Jadeja, Managing Director of Jyoti CNC, he has said that they are going to invest 10,000 crore. And what I understand, they are going to tie up with the Apple manufacturing company. They required 2,000 mechanical engineering students. How they will get it? So here, we are trying in the Saurashtra and Kutch region to skilling and reskilling. That's why we are continuously working with the industry, and we are open to give your suggestions how we can inbuild your curriculum, what is required in the industry in our credit system. So what I understand from today's discussion is engineering or curriculum is not related to train our students related to software jobs. That is not a final requirement, right? We need to build AI, we need to run it, and we need to go for green. So that is my 3 key initiative from today's seminar. And what I understand from the industry experts, we need to create infrastructure, we need to run the system, and we need to go for the green. So definitely from my side, as well as from Saurashtra and Kutch region, we have a very strong collaborations with all the universities here in the Saurashtra and Kutch. And definitely we are going to introduce AI infrastructure and operation, which is a prime requirement, what I understand from the industry experts. That syllabus we are going to change, and we are going to add maybe wherever suitable as per the input of the experts from the industry, maybe in the 5th semester or 6th semester. So that is my suggestions.
Thank you, sir. It will be really helpful to reskill the entire workforce and support the AI infrastructure. Thank you, everyone. And it was a great discussion. And thank you, everyone. Thank you all for listening us patiently. Thank you.
Thank you to all the esteemed panelists. I would request you all to be on stage for the felicitation. I may now call upon Mr. Kalpesh Prajapati, Assistant Director IT, to felicitate Shri Kishan Baravalia, Moderator, Co-founder, Coolthumb Private Limited. May I now call upon Mr. Bhavesh Motiwala, ICT Officer, to felicitate Shri Achal Gupta, Head of Procurement, L&T Data Center. I would request Bhavesh sir to also felicitate Shri Amit Agrawal, President, Techno Digital. Next, I may now call upon Mr. Snehal Desai, ICT Officer, to felicitate Shri Gautam Jaina, Head of Strategy, STT Global Data Centers. And finally, I would also request Snehal Sir to felicitate Dr. Rajendra Singh Jadeja, Provost, Marwadi University. You may please have your seats. I would like to call upon Mr. Mahesh Raghwani to felicitate Dr. Deepak Ramolia, Associate Professor from Charottar University. Meanwhile, I would request all those delegates possessing a gold badge to proceed towards gold dining area beside the PG building, and those having a silver badge to go to second floor Marwadi University mess. We extend our heartfelt thanks to all of you for your patience and time. Thank you.